Starmer ditches the promised right to switch off, confirming what might have been anticipated about how sincere the Labour Party was in its pre-election pledges to bring in a New Deal for workers. So much for working time directives. With the ubiquitous spread of mobile communications, more and more workers are finding that their employers expect that the fact that they can be reached anytime, anywhere, means that they should be ready to respond to work calls and emails at any time of the day or night, including on days off and holidays. Not only individuals but their families are paying the price, all adding to the steep rise in the numbers suffering severe burnout from overwork in Britain. As British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer casually bins the last of his joke pre-election New Deal for Workers pledges, withdrawing from an earlier commitment to stop employers pressurising staff into leaving their phones on indefinitely so that they are permanently on call, the role of social democracy in keeping workers docile and divided is exposed for all to see. When union bosses were telling workers last spring that even though Sir Keir was openly advocating for genocide in Palestine, and even though he was promising to head up the most pro-business government Britain has ever seen, workers should still vote Labour nonetheless because the party had plans to reverse some of the most egregious anti-worker measures and restore some of the rights at work that had been lost or eroded over the past 40 years. Even so-called radicals, like Mike Lynch of the RMT and Unite's Sharon Graham, added their voices to the Vote Labour chorus that assailed workers from all sides. But what happened when Starmer had been safely installed in number 10? One by one, the pledges were quietly dropped and the reverse was implemented. Not only a doubling down on the support for imperialist war in Ukraine and Gaza, but a ramping up of attacks on the poorest and most vulnerable people in Britain under the excuse of an unexpected budget deficit. All the fault of those nasty Tories, of course. Wage slavery versus chattel slavery. To demand the right to switch off, to limit the hours of work to those agreed when the worker sells to the capitalist his ability to work, his labour power, is no more than to require the purchaser of labour power to honour the terms of the contract he has entered into with the worker, the seller of the labour power. It is this which distinguishes wage slavery from the outright slavery of an earlier epoch. The slave was a chattel, bought and sold for life by the slave master. The wage slave does not sell his body all in one go to the capitalist. Rather, he sells to the capitalist the only commodity that he owns and can bring to market, his labour power, and he sells it piecemeal for use during certain hours. Every blurring of the dividing line between the boss's time and the worker's time effectively keeps the employee permanently tagged to the job and with less and less private life in which to raise a family, advance his education, broaden his cultural interests, and even, heaven forbid, study Marxist-Leninist science.